Hey everybody, welcome back to Sergeant's Talk TV. Big Mike.
Normal size Jason.
Hey guys, we got a good one for you tonight. We're going to be talking about America on fire. And when we say America on fire, we're talking about some absolute dumb, idiotic, crazy stuff that's going on in Washington. Okay. We have crying, we have whining. I mean, if you're not whining, you're not training. I get that. But we're going to talk about everything that's going on. We want your input in the chat. So if you could do that, if you want to come up on panel and talk with us, and we'll introduce everybody to you guys. Just go to the link at the top, click the link. Make sure that you don't come up with an avatar. I want to see your face down in the basement so we can bring you up. So we know you're not a bot, you're an actual person. So we'd like you to join us tonight. So Jason, tell us who you got.
I don't know. They're random, strange people that I just found on the street, and I said, guys, come in, don't look too homeless, and pretend you're a veteran.
We just went to Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning and drug some people out.
Or they're actually my family. So this, for those of you who've been around a while, right, you guys know that I talked about, we did an episode and stuff of why did we join, what did we do, and why we chose the Marine Corps. Tonight's super special because the two guys that are the reason why I joined the Marine Corps, one is sitting right here. This is my Uncle Elmer, and the other one is my cousin Tony. And then right behind him is Tony's sister, my other cousin Gail. She is also another female Marine. So I don't know if Dawn's in here, but guess what?
Yeah,
we got another sister in here. She's normally the lone wolf on the female Marine side. And then my other cousin over here, Elmer, the 1700th, I don't know, the third. He is an Army veteran. Are you still in? Okay. Sees how much I talk to him.
There you go.
Guys, I am, for those of you who follow, Tara and I have arrived at my uncle's house in coastal North Carolina right now. So surprise, we're not at home, and this isn't the Ridge. So
yeah. And you've been there for what, like an hour?
About an hour. It was long enough to get the squatch set up and parked and rewire an outlet because we didn't have the right stuff. Throw a little bit of groceries down and then be like, oh, by the way, I need internet, a table, and a place to sit, benches. Yeah, let's do this in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. So, hey, just so you know, I got the letter from Google.
Oh, boy.
Got the letter from Google for the AdSense and everything with the code and everything to do. So they'll know exactly where to send them checks or the money into the bank account so that we can keep track of that, so we can donate that money to the McAllister Veterans Homeless Shelter here in McAllister, Oklahoma. And that's what our channel is all about. One of the reasons that we do this channel, number one, is therapy for Jason and I. Hopefully it's therapy for you as veterans, as spouses, as dependent children, as Gold Star members, to have a place that you can go and say anything, talk about anything, and feel safe talking to brothers and sisters in arms. Where a lot of times we can't just talk to somebody about our military feelings or what we've gone through with anybody else other than our brothers and sisters. So it's just a safe place and that's why we started this channel. And our goal was to any money that we make off this channel to give it towards a veterans charity. And we have one right here in McAllister that I can physically go down there and say, here's a check for this each month or every 3 months, depending on what money that we do make off this channel to help them support veterans that are homeless here in Oklahoma. So that's the whole purpose of Sergeant's Talk TV. But mainly it's for therapy for us. And Jason and I, over the last year, May 5th was our 1 year anniversary on this channel. It helps him and I connect and talk about things, like I said, that we just don't talk to the regular person about. So anyway,
they always give us weird looks when I've tried a couple times. I was like, oh, they're close friends of mine. You know, they never served, and then they start looking at me, you know, like the unicorn guy, and yeah. And so, you know, to not get those disturbing looks, and it gets dangerous, you know, especially with us as a group, as a family, when we get together, because you know, we start a lot of times, we will. I mean, we enjoy whatever that event is, but then it's like, hey, it never fails. It turns into old war stories and service time stories, and you know, who had it worse, and you know, who ate more sand than the others, and you know, the fun stuff.
And if you're from other services and you've served in other services, or let's say people who haven't, and we have a thing as veterans to make fun of other branches, okay? Or we have nicknames, or we have this or that. So don't take offense to any of that. That's just how service members talk to each other. When you got a reason to rub something in, by all means, as a veteran, rub it in. Okay. So that's what we do. So don't take offense. This is not a PG-13 channel. There might be some words that come out that might startle you, but you know, we don't learn that in the military. It just so happens when we're around light members, sometimes certain words might.
Is that where we have to go to that point now, to where, hey, if you let your kids watch this, we're not responsible for the shit that comes out of their mouth. So that's you. Don't call us. Our HR department is shut down.
Yeah, and if they're Army brats, they already know.
Yeah.
Most likely. All right. So hey, let's see who's in the chat.
Oh,
let me scroll this thing up.
Oh gosh, that's a lot of scrolling. I'm gonna cheat and not scroll that far, because the laptop's way over there.
Yeah. Hey, Linda Peterson's in here.
You see that?
I can see that.
There's Dana Mason.
All right, he's gonna make me. We got to do this in order. Dang it.
Or you can start at the bottom and work up, and that's fine too.
Oh, your sergeant major has made it in, so now we are now supervised, guys. We're okay.
Right. There's my sergeant major. She's in here at MT Homestead. Terry, Ricky Smith. How you doing?
Ricky, I actually just got to talk to Ricky the other day before I left, and was telling him about this trip, because we kind of kept it all hush hush. And
yeah,
he said if something needs done at the ridge, he's over there to take care of it for us.
Well, you kept it hush hush because I didn't even know about it.
I've been on. I came this close to calling you a couple times today just to give you the heads up, and I'm like, no, it's Surprise Everybody Day today.
Yeah. Hey, Liam McGoffigan from Scotland.
What's up, brother Liam? Good to see you. See Neil S made it in here. He says hello, my veteran brothers, Big Mike, Jason, and MT, and all of y'all that are in here with me.
All right. The Peanut Farm's here. Peanut Farm.
Must be somebody in Georgia.
There's in the Bora Good Enough Homestead. Hey, Robin.
How you doing, Robin? Jennifer Ocean Homestead up in Canada land, saying hit that like button if you would.
And there's brother Justy over there at Lazy Days Ahead.
Yes.
Can't talk.
Denise McDonald. Hey, how you doing? Another friend of ours. Good to see you.
Is that Joy Bartlett says
hey,
hello.
Joy. And there's Judy Herman.
And there is our favorite VA nurse,
Angie. How you doing?
It's the only way to say her name.
And I did it right. I said last time, I believe that she is a cancer patient nurse at the VA in Oklahoma City. So that is true.
She definitely is. Neil F So Jason's surrounded by crayon eaters. Absolutely.
That's right.
But shh, don't tell him I have a whole box in the truck.
Hey, Scott Spencer. There he is. Saying hello to everyone.
Depends on the box you buy.
And there's Brian at the Vineyard Farmhouse up in New York way.
Oh, you got way down there. Okay. There's Wanda Henry. Glad you can make it in, Wanda.
And there's Rachel at Back to Good.
Got her and Sean over there. They're making some progress on their place.
Are they really?
Oh, yeah.
Debbie Dross in here. Let's see.
Kevin Dietz
Hello, Kevin.
are referring to the name Jarhead.
And there is Dawn at our flippin' farmstead, our favorite female Marine.
And Dawn, I don't know if you'd heard this or not, but you're not alone. Cousin Gail here is also female Marine.
There you go. And there's AK Bill from up in Alaska at My Alaska. He's joined us.
Wonder if he's thawed out up there yet. How many feet of snow do they still have?
Yeah, I don't.
That might.
And there you go. Jesse's putting out our merch. If you want Sergeant's Talk merch, you can go over to MT Homestead on Streamlabs. You can go to our About page on MT Homestead, click down there at where it says merch, and you can buy a Sergeant's Talk TV t-shirt, mug, sleeveless shirt, whatever you want to buy on there.
You got y'all's picture.
Nope.
There's Ray Castillo. Hello, hello. Hey, Henry Leslie Vermont's in the house. All right. Good to see you, brother.
She can't get it to work.
She's putting the baby in.
Oh, gotcha.
Said she's listening.
And there's Angie's husband, Tony, at our cabin in the woods. Boy, he had some fire up there around his place. Woo! Man, some wildfires going on all over Oklahoma. How many were there, babe?
Tell her to give me thumbs up.
Like over 100 wildfires going around last Friday and Saturday.
They showed a satellite picture with all the smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, the smoke showed up on satellite.
Oh, wow.
There's Dave Blunk in Delaware. Welcome in.
Good to see you, brother David. Okay.
Have you seen the newest federal judge meme? It says federal judge has ordered astronauts to return to the International Space Station.
She doesn't know how to do that. Smart.
Like he's the only one that can tell people what to do because he's a judge.
And Don says, hi, cousin Gail.
There you go.
Another sane Marine. We are leaner and meaner.
Not so much leaner anymore.
Oh, I know both of you, Don, and that statement is not true. At least about the same part.
Yeah.
Meaner? I'll give you. Y'all probably are meaner. All right, and then while we're finishing through those, we do have another guest, y'all. I'll go ahead and bring her up. This is Miss Charlie. She is an Army vet. And this is so Uncle Elmer gets to be lucky because one of his sons and now one of his daughters are here.
They both went in the Army. I don't know what the heck is wrong with them.
We grew up where we needed.
We wanted the easy life.
We grew up with the hard life.
Yeah, I had a guy, I was a black hat at the Air Assault School for the Army, and I had a guy show up And when you go there, of course, you go to 0 day and you're doing push-up setups, you're running in boots and doing all this kind of stuff. And the next day, we're doing PT, and there's this guy, and he is in like a V like this, right? And we're doing 4-count flutter kicks, right? For part of PT in the morning before we go on the run. And I seen this guy, and I said, and I'm looking across there, I'm going, because that really stood out after, you did about 24-count flutter kicks and you're just going and going. And this guy never broke this. He was just going to town. And I walked over there and I looked on his uniform, and he had his Navy SEAL insignia sewn on his Army uniform. And I said, you're a Navy SEAL? He goes, what was your first clue, Air Assault Sergeant? I go, oh, dude. And he just kept going. Well, at the end of the air assault phase, we have a thing called Thunderdome, where we see which individual could do like the most 4-count flutter kicks, the most pull-ups, the most push-ups, yada, yada, yada. And this guy started, and he was at the end, he was at 100 4-count flutter kicks in the competition. Everybody else fell out. And he goes, and then he stops, and he looked up at me and he said, Air Assault Sergeant, could I get a glass of water? I said, okay. So got his canteen cup out, poured water in it, gave him a drink while I was still in the V position. And he goes, could you set it on my stomach? So I set it there. That canteen cup did not move, and he kept going. This dude did 267 4-count flutter kicks. I said, what are you doing in the Army? And he said, I wanted to be a pilot, but since I was a SEAL, they would never let me out of SEAL team. He goes, so I got out, came back in, but I went into the Army because he's an Apache helicopter pilot now. And that's what he wanted to do. He goes, plus, I wanted to get married and I wanted the easy life, so I joined the Army. And I said, man, I'm impressed. So, yeah. Hey, so tonight, again, if you want to come up on panel, the link is up there at the top. It's pinned at the top. Please come on up and talk with us. So we're going to talk about the crazy shenanigans or BS that's going on in our government. And guys, I'm going to tell you something. And it all starts off with the crazy information that I learned today that the president is at an all-time high in favorability. Okay. He's up around 70%. Okay. And that's insane for any president. Okay. 70%. And then it said, and then it went by party, and it said that 49% of America is pleased with the Republicans in the House and the Senate. Then it dropped down to disapproval or favorability for on the liberal side of only 26%. Okay. Well, I don't think there's certain people who are not learning the lesson or refusing to learn the lesson about what America actually wants. Okay. We have been stymied and stonewalled for the last 4 years, and people just had enough of this. Okay. I also looked at old videos, and I think I sent one to you, Jason, about a while back where the Democrats were saying that, their fraud, waste, and abuse is going rampant. We need to find out who's committing fraud, whether it's Social Security, whether it's this or that. And now that the Republicans sit there and say, hey, we're not going to just talk about all this fraud, waste, and abuse. We're going to actually do it. So, of course, the president enacted a department called doge, headed by Elon Musk and a bunch of smart computer whiz people. And if you don't think they're smart, they're finding the person that's receiving the money that's defrauding the government. Okay. Where everybody goes, well, we can't do this and we can't do that. And then everybody's talking about, certain congressmen and senators, they got to stir the pot and put out a false narrative, just like news agencies do and stuff like that, just to get on TV, and about how they're going to get rid of Social Security, they're going to get rid of Medicare, and that has never been talked about, and that isn't even a goal. And I believe that the Project 2025 was probably written by the Democratic Party, okay, and pinned on the other side, onto the right, just to get everybody's mind all wishy-washy and stuff like that. So, guys, there is stuff that they're finding out that just, my jaw dropped on some of this stuff, where your tax dollars are going. And from January 20th till now, if they can find $2.7 trillion of wasteful spending, and we're in a $2 trillion deficit, meaning we're spending $2 trillion more than we're taking in, because we take in about $5 trillion a year in taxes and all that kind of stuff that goes into the federal government. And we're spending $2.7 trillion more than we're bringing in. This is insane, and it's got to stop, and they're doing something about it. Okay. And people aren't happy with it. How can you not be happy with it? You know what I mean?
Well, and that's we've talked about it in relation to the fact that, like, all of us, obviously that are on screen right now, right? We've all served in the fact that when you go in and all of a sudden they start coming in and they're yelling at you for taking pens home and Post-it notes and, running too many copies to burn up copy paper. And we're at the little level, being, in the military, in the active duty branch. We're so small compared to, the rest of the freaking government,
right?
In budget wise of what they're spending. And then you're thinking, well, why did I just get my ass chewed for taking a pen home that day? When they're up there spending billions on underwater basket weaving.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. You're looking at, between DEI, critical race theory, sex change operations being funded all over the world, and climate change, or studies to see if a shrimp, how many calories a shrimp burns on a treadmill, and our government's paying for that on your tax dollars. How much money was funneled over for, the COVID research and stuff like that behind everybody's back? All this stuff. What they found so far is more than funding the entire DOD. Okay.
Yeah.
We threw away more money than the DOD operates on. Okay. And that's insane. That is insane. Giving money to countries like Bali to study climate change. If you've ever been to Bali, they don't need to study nothing. It's awesome weather in Bali. Okay. Why do you need that? Giving money to failed regimes. How much money have we pumped into Haiti? And it's not that we've given the money to Haiti. We've given it to groups that, quote unquote, monitor the money that they're supposed to be spending in Haiti, but yet there's no accountability for the money. And I know, as somebody who's helped operate a 501c3 tax exempt organization with Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, you have to turn in a breakdown of every dime to the IRS every single year. And why are some people getting these monies? Because they're giving it to them as grants. And everybody knows if you get a grant, you don't have to pay a dime back. Okay? A dime back. Again, Stacey Abrams over in Georgia, $2 billion to supposedly assist disenfranchised people about climate change and energy and stuff like that for their homes. But yet they can't account for where they spent the money, you know? And that was a first year NGO, okay? A first year NGO getting $2 billion from the federal government from USAID. And that's where the problem is, okay?
Yeah.
And that's where it's at, because this money is piled in. Let's say $44 billion is piled in to USAID every year. Okay. And nobody's monitoring them. Okay.
You know all about that in North Carolina. They, we had all them, that hurricane went through there. They still can't account for half of the money that was designated for it, but people ain't seen it.
Oh, and you know where it's at. They found out where it all went up. Musk told everybody, hey, that money was funneled from there up to New York City, to Chicago, to LA, and it's paying to help them offset the cost of illegal immigration inside their city. Okay. That's where the FEMA money went. And then they get to North Carolina and said, hey, we'd love to help you, but we don't have no money, you know? And that's the asinine way they ran the government. If you ran your home the way we run the government, everybody would be homeless, you know? Because you can't go, let's say every month you're spending $2,000 more than you're bringing in, okay? I mean, you're going to be homeless in no time flat. But see, all we do is say, okay, well, that's another $1 trillion, whatever. And we just keep going and going and going. I worked for the government for 45 years. And 20 of those years was with Army MWR. And I was a director of MWR. And I had to account for every dime that I spent. And it is absolutely insane that at that level, they don't have to, they never even worried about it. And that's why America's on fire. That's why America can't get along. And people are saying, hey, they're stealing my Social Security number. Well, I'm sorry, but here's the truth. If you register for school, you're giving up your Social Security number. If you go to a doctor's office, you're giving up your Social Security number. If you're buying insurance, if you're buying a car, you bought a boat, you bought your home, okay, or anything like that, your Social Security number is everywhere. And if you don't think they buy and sell your Social Security number, you're an idiot. I'm sorry, you're an idiot, because your Social Security number is in more dark holes on the internet than you even want to know about. Okay.
I think the biggest group of people I've found, though, and it's funny when they started crying about the Social Security, because I would be interested to know the ones that are screaming the loudest. I guarantee none of them served, because we all realized that when we signed those papers and enlisted and did our contracts, they know more about us than we did. They have more of our information than we can get half the time.
Oh yeah.
So they're like, get my social. Good luck. I can't do anything with it. You're not gonna either. Like, have fun.
Take a nitro pill, Scott Spencer.
Yeah.
Don't get me started, Mike, on the big stuff because I'll have to take a nitro pill.
Charlie, did you see Anna Moore's comment? You had to wave hello.
I didn't. Yeah,
We found the trick,
Charlie.
We found the trick in the family how to get Charlie to actually be a little quiet. We're just going to start bringing her on camera all the time.
Yeah, and like Jesse says, your Social Security number is auctioned off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody.
If you don't think China has your Social Security number, you're not living in reality. Okay, they know everything about you. Okay, and everybody is, oh my gosh, don't get rid of TikTok. Yeah, okay, it's Chinese owned and blah blah blah, and there's a signature collected. And when you watch the hearings, they couldn't give you an honest answer. Oh yeah, they're not going to tell you. Yeah, military China has got your information. They know who you are. Okay, and we owe China so much money towards our deficit. It's pathetic. So yeah, guys, do your homework before you go out and march up and down the streets and yell foul, foul, foul. You got to do your homework because all you're doing is listening to somebody and you're just taking it for granted that that's the truth. And I wouldn't trust one of those people up there because everybody that's complaining about what's going on to save America and talking against everything, if you go back, you can find a video where they said the exact same thing. We got to fix this. We got to fix that. And now they're caught with their pants around their ankles. And, oh, that wasn't me. Yeah, it was. It came out of your mouth. And I've seen somebody saying, oh, the Republicans are making AI and they're putting the words in our mouths. No, they're not. Come on.
And the Republicans are just so better at it. The AI that doesn't look like AI, it looks real. Yeah. Okay. How about
Yeah.
that?
What did AK Bill say? Doesn't actually fund those programs. It's just a way to funnel money back into politicians' bank accounts. And I'm not going to say that's true or not, but I could just imagine it is true. Okay. Because you can't go in and make $180,000 a year as a first term senator or congressman, whatever they're making, and you come out and you're a millionaire. Because who sees all the information first about, stock market information and stuff like that? And they tried to pass a thing where you couldn't do that while you were in the Senate in the House as a politician, and they couldn't get it passed because nobody would vote for it. Because hey, that just tells me that they're doing it. That's insider trading, and they couldn't get it passed. Well, hell no, they're not going to get it passed. That's how they're making money on the side. That's their side hustle. Okay.
Well, like Ricky said, it's the professional politicians. Like you shouldn't be able to make a profession on it.
Yeah.
You had something about with the programs?
Yeah, I want to get on the Congressional Investment Program because they beat Standard & Poor's by orders of magnitude. Somebody goes in and, like you said, makes 170, 180,000 a year. 4 years later, they went in, they were worth maybe a few 100,000. 4 years later, they're worth 10 million. How they get that money is the grant. Well, I'll send you a grant for $2.5 billion, and you're going to send me back a little gift of several 100,000.
Sure. Yeah. Well, right now I read the day that Nancy Pelosi's worth $260 million all by herself. And how do you do that? My wife says you're talking too loud. Here's your ears. Courtesy of the VA. Oh, wow. I can hear now.
See, what happened was, that's why we figured it out. He thought he muted everything. It's just that he couldn't hear that it was still on. Now we know the trick. All right, we're getting all big mics.
There you go. Wow. That's
You know, the
nice.
servant screaming in the background for the rest of our lives.
Well, and again, there's a video out with Doug Collins. He's the secretary of the VA. And so far, they have canceled contracts, because that's why Doge is in the VA right now looking at contracts. And they found out so many contracts were doubled, and they didn't have a clue how many contracts that they had. And contracts that were supposed to be set up for, like, if you do an army contract, you can do it for a max amount of 5 years, okay, with one vendor. And then you have to put it out again for competition. Well, a lot of these contractors, their 5 years have been up for 10 years, and they just let it keep going and keep going. And they're just sending a check, blindly sending a check. For example, the VA in Muskogee has a contract with a medical equipment company out of Tulsa. And for some reason, they called me up and they said, hey, we got a device we want, because I had a double hip replacement. So the guy comes down from Tulsa down to where we live, down south here, and he delivers this thing. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, you know how it works? I said, well, no, I don't know what it is. He goes, well, you strap your leg into this machine while you're laying in bed. It has a metal frame, and then you Velcro your leg in there and hit the button, and it bends your leg and your knee. And after he left, I'm just going, I looked at my wife and I said, I don't know if I want to put my leg in this machine. And then I started reading the documents on it, and it's for a knee replacement. And I didn't have a knee replacement, and I had a hip replacement. So I have care in the community. So my physical therapist would come to the house, which is contracted through the VA at the hospital. And she goes, you didn't strap up into that. I said, well, no, because it said for a knee. She goes, oh my Lord. She goes, yeah, you'd be right back in the hospital. Oh my gosh. And you know what? This was in August. I've never used it, and the machine is still here. And I've had the other side done. And I called them up and I said, well, they said, yeah, we'll get to it. And they keep billing the VA, which they're billing the taxpayer for a machine that's not being used. I got it for the intent and purpose. I didn't have a knee replacement. I had hip replacements. So yeah, I mean, and this is what they're finding out. And they've found $938 million worth of double contracts that should have been canceled because they're over their 5 years and things like that. And so everybody's in an uproar. They're in an uproar because they found all this money, and they're saying, okay, they're going to cut veteran services because they got rid of these contracts. No, what they did was they're taking this money and putting it towards veteran services to take care of veterans, okay, and hire more, what do they call those guys, those that do your claims?
The VSO?
The VSOs, to hire more VSOs, because as Doug says, oh, we're clearing more claims cases more and more each day, bigger than ever. And I'm going, well, mine's been in there since October 7th. And they called me up and they said, hey, check this out. They said, your claim that you put in October 7th, we need you to go back and do another CMP. Before it was for my back, because the 20-year rule, they've already surpassed the 20-year rule, and they never checked my back for 20 years, and they're supposed to do it every 5 years. Yeah. And so, oh, you slipped through the crack. And so I'm going, well, wait a minute, why am I doing this? And I did exactly like your guy told us. You need to question them, and you're not going to do it. Well, the guy I went to over here for Optimum, who's a contractor for the VA,
Motorcycle cameras on the side.
He didn't fill out one piece of paperwork the one piece of paperwork they were missing, and it's a checklist, right? So they're saying in order for the checklist to be filled out, you got to go through another CMP exam and get that done so he can do the checklist while he's doing the exam. I said, how is that serving me, the veteran? Okay, because you're paying this guy, some doctor, some ungodly amount of money off your contract, and he screws it up, and now I have to pay for it. Now I have to go all the way up to Tulsa or Oklahoma City to have another physical done because of my hip that I had done in August. So this is what they're trying to get rid of, all this BS that's going on within the VA, and putting that money that they're recouping from it, because what they'll do is they'll say every year, here's a bunch of money. Okay, when we call on you, it's like a retainer. When we call on you, you have to deliver these products to these veterans, and they're snatching all that money back from them, so they can't spend it, because the fiscal year when contracts start is in October. So yeah, it's crazy.
Well, like I said, it always amazes me, you know, when we're looking at these government programs that they're doing, and the lack of auditing in it. Like I remember specifically, you know, all the time, and Tony and Elmer and I have talked about this a lot. You know, it was like phasmo inspections and all these inspections that we had to account for every single piece of gear and every dollar that was spent and everything that was there. Yet all of these government programs, none of them could pass one audit.
Yeah.
Like how, like we're lower on the totem pole, you know, in their status, and yet we're held to a higher standard than they are themselves. Like it's so hypocritical in that fact that yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's crazy.
that source, we had to do an inventory, and if you were responsible for that sub-supply source, and you were missing 2 or 3 nuts and bolts, and they're on your inventory, and you can't physically go and put your hand on them, you stand a chance of ending your career and losing a strike, losing money, whatever, depending on the rate. And the government can lose trillions and trillions of dollars every year. Oh, we just misplaced it. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we'll check again next year and see if you can do better.
Oh, sure.
Right, I'm going to lose my career. See if you can do better.
Yeah.
That really gives you a lot of faith in your superiors.
Yep.
You got COVID funds that have still not been spent, but they can't use it for anything else because they're dedicated to COVID. But
Yeah.
they
So
never spent it. And
yeah,
COVID's back.
absolutely.
They have money for, yeah.
So people also were talking about that they're taking your money. Number one, Elon Musk doesn't need any of your money. Okay. He does. This guy's building rocket ships to use as taxis because NASA can't go up there and get our people. Okay. And the people over in Russia that have those old rocket ships, they're kind of busy right now. They're using all their money for the Ukraine. But he's the taxi service to go save our people. That's up there on the International Space Station, because who's going to do it? NASA, you know? And I'm going to tell you something. If NASA, for all the years that NASA's been in operation, and you take a guy that's building cars to get a team together to create a rocket that can go to space, come back, and land, and it can be reused. Why haven't these people figured it out after all these years? You know what I mean?
Well, it's been easy, and I think that's where it falls into some of the proof that we have right now. Like, you know, Elon has done it through his own funding and in raising and businesses and stuff like that, as to where NASA is technically falling under the government funding. Well, they're proving now that
money.
Yeah, it's that money. Oh, they say it's going to this program, but really it's going into, you know, Pelosi's pocketbook and all the other, you know, crooked ones up there. Like it's just, I don't know. It makes it more aggravating, you know, as just an average citizen, you know, taxpayer trying to look at it from the simple version, not even the hey, how many audits did I have to go through while I was in the Marine Corps?
Yeah.
And knowing that if I failed, like Tony had said, hey, if I fail this audit, guess what? I'm losing rank, pay, maybe even, my career at the time, depending on what the gear that's not accountable. And there's politicians that are making money off doing what we would get in trouble for. I know we've said it before, but like I'm excited about this whole Doge program and what they're doing and finding it. Now, my one thing that I'm holding reservation for is, are they actually going to do something with this money that they found, and is it going to go where it's supposed to go?
Right.
To find it's one thing, but now what are they going to do with it? Like put it towards the right programs, and if Doug Collins is going to step up with the VA and get us veterans more care prompter so that we're not sitting there waiting forever just to get an appointment, or our conditions worsen because we have to wait so long, or we're forced, even if we didn't want to have to go to community care because we don't have an option.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever heard anybody complaining about community care necessarily, because typically that means,
the VA can't enough doctors or whatever. Unfortunately, I have to see a psychiatrist due to my military career. Send me out to a psychiatrist in a civilian community care. They don't get it. I need somebody who understands that.
Yeah, I agree.
But you talk about that, the VA. I was diagnosed with cancer 5 months before I could get an appointment with an oncologist in the VA. 5 months.
That's crazy.
What about the Vietnam vets with Agent Orange? I kept thinking, because I had relatives that were in that, and I kept thinking that, this is, maybe they're just zeroed in on that, and they're psyched on that, and they're kind of got blinders. And now, after my issues with the all expense paid tour of the world's biggest sandbox, and now I have issues, and I have a lot, the ultimate of respect for some of the guys and the guys that were saying, oh, it's just your conspiracy theory before they called it that. I said, you guys are just blocking out everything else and getting on this, and they're dying off because they can't get the help they need.
Yeah.
I deal with a friend of mine in Michigan. His brother's doing work for a halfway house for the 22 to none, the center, and we do ice fishing, and we get together and do cookouts and stuff like that.
Right.
On a regular basis, and that I'm from that. I'm getting some one-on-one time with some of these guys that are aging out just because it's old age.
Yeah.
They're not getting the help they need, and there is no help. And we have guys that the 45 caliber lollipop is the only out they see. They can't take it anymore, and been trying for 30, 40 years.
Right.
And we need to stop that from happening. It's too close and it's personal. So for some family, but we need to stop that from happening. And I start working with them whenever I can, when I can spare time. Well, now that I'm retired, I have time to do that, and I've been working with them and different people more closely and doing, peer counseling. It's just, hey, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee together somewhere. All me when it gets crazy, because we can be crazy together, and maybe between the conversations we can help out. So don't think that these guys need to be left out in the cold because they're a little out there, because maybe they're not. Maybe their demons are struggling to break free, and one day they're going to, and maybe you can help them tighten up the chains a little bit.
Yeah.
So we work on that a lot. I'm tired of burying friends of mine that are younger than me.
Hey, so switching gears real quick there, we got a comment from Raquel up at Cottonwood Ranch. Her nickname is the Queen of the Great White North. She lives up there where the snow gets butthole deep. And it is what's going on with Canada, with the tariff wars per se. Now, to understand tariffs, tariffs are in place for not for the manufacturer to make money, because the manufacturer has to pay for the tariff to the government in which it goes into, goods and services, whatever. And the same thing with Canada and the same thing with Mexico. The government collects the money, okay, and the manufacturer has to pay the money. So if you're shipping in avocados from Mexico and there's 100% tariff on avocado for every avocado you're sending in, that increases the price in which a US based company is buying them for, and they've got to, because you always pass the cost onto the consumer. So if you're sending up avocados and you got to pay the tariff, then whoever's receiving the avocados, that company in Mexico wants that money back. And so now you're paying a higher price for it. And that it doesn't matter what the item is whatsoever. Okay, cars, food, whatever. So we ship out food from the United States to other countries. Okay, and it goes to other countries. We got to pay a tariff to get it in there. Whoever receives it, they get their money back. So it's almost like a wish-wash, unless the tariff at the other place is higher than the tariffs that you place here in the United States. And the offset in tariff over the years has been astronomical, where the U.S. is losing their ass. Sorry, that's the truth. We're losing our butts in the tariff war. So if you go and say, hey, we're going to increase the tariff, and we'll say steel and aluminum, because we get that from a lot of that from Canada land and stuff like that. So he puts in a 25% tariff increase on steel and aluminum that's coming in from Canada. Okay, so that means if they got to pay it, whoever's buying the ore or whatever they're selling it as, the price of steel is going to go up. So when we do this, one of the provinces in Canada says, we supply electric down to Washington State and stuff like that, power. And so we're going to increase it because you increased it on us. So he goes, oh, okay. So now from 25%, we're going to boost it up to 50%, which is hurting a bigger market in Canada. So the people over there, I guess it's Ontario, wherever it's over there on the West Coast, they said, okay, there's no increase in tariff. And so everybody settled, because tariffs are a negotiating tactic that he's using to get on a fair and level balance. Well, if you got the North America Treaty Organization, why is there any tariffs at all? There's tariffs so the governments can make money. Okay. Remember, you have basically, I'm not going to say it's a socialized government, but they got healthcare and all that kind of stuff that people paying in taxes and stuff, and you can go to the doctor. Unlike here, where we're paying out of our nose holes for healthcare and stuff like that on an individual basis. And so this big war is going back and forth, and people don't understand this. It isn't about the short game when it comes to tariffs. Tariffs is a long-term game. So in the beginning, prices will go up as everybody realizes, say, hey, we're freaking losing money here, and we don't know how we're going to fund all this stuff. We need to go back down. So the long game is to get everybody on the same sheet of music, especially in North America, the treaty organization. They got to redo that thing. That thing's horrible. Okay. And why isn't it that our farmers aren't feeding our people? Because they're getting a better price for what they're producing overseas rather than doing it in the States. This whole thing with tariffs is making for very much unrest between neighbors that have gotten along for years. and they're not liking this. They're going, whoa, wait a minute. How are we going to fund all these social programs if we can't collect all this huge tariffs coming into Canada? Because if you've ever mailed something to Canada, we mailed a small box to Canada to Joni and Tony at Creekside Maples, and that little box cost me $54. Had two cups and 2 T-shirts in it, and it cost me $54. Well, it got to the post office, and when they went to pick it up, they had to pay the tariff on that, which was above and beyond the $54. Okay. And that's when you live in a society where you got the healthcare and all that kind of stuff, it costs a lot of money to run that. And Canada doesn't have the if they had 330 million people in Canada like here, do you really think, I mean, they would collect a lot more taxes with people working and stuff like that, but it's just a lot. I know when I lived in Germany, I was married to a German. She was working and she was paying 47% taxes in Germany. And she goes, oh, but we got free healthcare. I said, you're paying 47% tax. You're getting screwed.
How often do you go to the doctor and use that health care?
You live in the doctor's basement.
And I go, yeah, I've known you for 20 years and you've only been to the doctor 3 times and you're paying 47% tax. Okay, so it's not a good deal. And then the wait time that the Canadians and the Germans have to wait to get it. And then they're cutting services down lower and lower each and every year on how many times you can go to the dentist and how many times you can do this and how many times you can do that. But the tariff, again, a tariff is a revenue thing for governments. And we have been on the losing end just to be people's friends for years and years and years. And people are in an uproar about this because they're not reading. They're not looking at, okay, if we import steel after it's been produced back into Canada, what's the tariff on steel going back and ore coming down? You'll see a big imbalance in that. And we don't need this with Canada because Canada's been our friends forever. Okay. But I do believe there should be a balance. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm all for not collecting tariffs coming down or going to Canada. But the loser in that is going to be Canada because they rely on that for all their social networking problems or issues that they run up in Canada, and that will hurt the people of Canada if it's completely balanced because you're not going either way. Only people collecting money is the governments, okay? And it depends on where they're going to take that money that they're earning and how they're using it. And if your government explodes in size, okay, and that's what we're trying to get to now by closing the agencies like USAID, close that down, get rid of it. The Department of Education, they want to get rid of that because, like they said, only 27% of all the money given to the Department of Education goes to educating our children. And that's a shocker when I read that from the government GAO. I was like going, are you freaking kidding me? It's all the overhead it's paying for. All these people that are getting paid these big salaries and stuff like that. And then they send the money down to the state. And then the state doesn't use 100% of it to educate the children either. They got to pay for their state people. They get paid first before a child gets educated. Okay. So if they get rid of, their thought is if you get rid of the Department of Education at the federal level and you take that money and go here, divide it, 50 ways and send it down to the states, let the state who know their children better than the feds do, let them educate the children in the state of North Carolina or Georgia or wherever. So that's a big nut roll right here. And you wait, the fight's not over on that one. And they're saying he doesn't have the right to do it. Well, I'm sorry. the Department of Education was put in place by, what was that they call it, Terry? A presidential.
Proclamation.
Yeah, it wasn't enacted by Congress. The president, I think it was
Like an executive order.
executive order. Yeah, that's how it became by one person's signature, and all it takes is another president saying, get rid of it, and it's rescinded, and the Department of Education is gone. And all these people said, oh yeah, you're messing with the concept. No, he's not. It was signed into law by a president, and it's been funded that way ever since. And it only takes a president to get rid of it. And I think states will do a better job and pay their teachers better when you're not paying everybody up here in Washington these exorbitant amount of paychecks before it gets down to the states. Okay, the state's going to pay their people no matter what. So send it all down there. Whatever you are going to pay at the federal level, take it all and ship it down to the states so they can work with the children better. Because right now, all these schools are absolutely hurting. And now charter schools, I'm from Arizona originally, and charter schools are just popping up everywhere. Okay, charter schools are people, a kid has to take an exam to get into a charter school. So if your kid's, I'm sorry for a better word, ignorant, he ain't getting into a charter school because they have standards. Where a public school, you just have to be born and you're 6 or 7 years old, you just go to school. Okay. So those are things that is hurting us. Because if you look at all the test scores across America, America is not educating their children. And unions are destroying the education system, okay? Destroying it, especially when teachers get hired and you have to be part of the union and you have to pay your dues. And what are they doing? These people at the union level are making some serious coin. Okay. I mean, to me, it's just, it's almost like, back in the day, where the mafia ran the unions and stuff like that. It's insane. The way they think, and they're so protective. They have to be protected because it's their paychecks. So
we have fallen back so far with that. When I went to school, I'm giving my age away now. The school system provided us with paper, pencils, all the things we needed to learn in the classroom. My grandchildren or my children are paying for my grandchildren. They have to provide their own paper and pencil. The teacher ain't got none of that. They don't have any of it. And the teachers will tell you, we have no money to do any of that.
yeah.
But yet, all that money's going into education. Well, where's it going? It's going back up to the federal government, pay them people that are not doing a damn thing.
Yeah.
I
think
didn't mean to yell, but I'm just.
And I think, Mike, you had said it too earlier, was, the fact that if you get rid of one more department, like, why is there so much redundancy in some of this stuff? You don't need a federal, if they're running it at the state, which is what it needs to be done, then why does there need to be? Because obviously oversight at the federal level, that's an oxymoron. They're not oversighting anything other than, oh, well, here's my routing number. Go ahead and send that extra money over here. Like, there's no, they're not check and balancing nothing. And yeah, so the money that, like, they're wrapping it all up in the overhead by creating unnecessary positions where, there shouldn't be a kid that goes to school and is hungry, right? School lunches, all those types of programs. Every kid that goes to school should be provided that food. And, whether their parents can afford it or not, like, that should be part of that school program is, hey, feed these children while they're in your possession during the day. That should be part of that funding. School supplies. And I get there's a lot of them. And I do remember, with my kids going to school, was the same way. It was like, man, I've got to go spend a fortune for them to start school. And there was a couple times that I found out that my kids didn't even get to use all the stuff that I took in because the teachers would bring it in and it would all go into, like a general closet storage area, and then just everybody, which, okay, at least that allowed everybody to have it. But I'm like, if I'm spending the money that I made to make sure my kid has X amount of pencils and the right style of paper, because it can't even just be regular paper anymore, right? It's got to be college ruled with 17 font, blah, like it was ridiculous the last time I looked at a supply list. And then my kid doesn't even get to use it.
Yeah.
And then they're telling me, oh, well, you make $5 too much for your kid to get a discounted lunch. So now you're going to pay hundreds of dollars. Like when I had 4 of them at school, I was looking at paying hundreds of dollars. Or I make, hey, guess what, kids, you're not getting hot lunch. You're going to just take a sack lunch.
Yeah. And then you got to look at these school boards over the last 4 years have just absolutely destroyed parents' faith in education. You know what I mean?
You've got that with yours now, right? Like
What's that?
with school workers.
He does homeschool.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
too expensive to send them to public school.
Yeah. And one of the other things now too is there's nobody to check like work. You got these kids now that got calculators on their phones, and that's how they do everything. So you got math, and you just plug it into the calculator, write down your answer. When we did it, we had to sit there and show our work on, or you did, this is wrong. Well, why is it wrong? It's the right answer. You didn't show your work.
Yeah. Yeah. And right now, kids having to, when I was a kid, of course, that was a long time ago. I went to elementary school in the 60s and graduated in the mid 70s. So all your term papers were written out in ink. You know what I mean? They wouldn't let us turn in papers in pencil. You had to have it in ink. And of course, they look at punctuation, how many times you scribbled out a word that, because you tried to spell it, but you misspelled it and stuff like that. Now, these kids are turning in paperwork in the same manner as if you're in college, And then why do you really need to learn how to spell a word when you can hit thesaurus or whatever and you can correct everything?
Google that shit.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, correct.
Yeah,
correct.
they have AI writers now where they just go in and the chat GPT stuff where you go in and give them a few things that you want it to do, and all of a sudden it writes an entire essay, and then you just have to go in and change a few things so it's not full on plagiarism.
Yeah. Hey, Adam.
Hey there. How we doing?
This is our friend Adam over at Vets Talking. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I was actually just sitting down, hanging out, enjoying some adult beverages, and then I saw you guys were on here. I'm like, I tried dropping a super chat. I don't know why it went through, so I'll just say it in person. Canada's the luckiest country in the fucking world's history to be existing with the largest military in the world on their border. They are lucky as fuck. That's something along the lines of what my super chat is going to be.
So, hey, Charlie, I seen your head nodding when we started talking about the kids in school. What's your thought?
She doesn't have a microphone. She ain't very
Oh,
good.
okay. Yeah, you're
No,
still.
we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Just keep working on it. So yeah, and I'm going to tell you something that this is a big cultural shock for a lot of people that were raised in a woke generation, people who swallowed the Kool-Aid of the last 4 years. And the thing that I'm going to tell you right now, I sit back and I laugh at all these people because Trump is living in their heads rent-free right now. And it is driving them insane Okay, this is driving them insane.
Oh, the short trip.
Yeah,
his tactics he's using right now is, I mean, everyone loves, like I think one of you said that, 4D chess. Maybe you guys don't like that, but it's absolutely true. 4D chess that Trump plays, like when he was at the presidential address, and he said, "It doesn't matter what I say; these people will not stand up. It doesn't matter what I say. I can cure cancer, and they will not applaud it. They'll say it's racist if I cure cancer." Essentially, like he's saying.
yes.
And he's using that to his advantage now. Some of the stuff he's posting, some of the tactics he's using is intentionally to make their heads explode and go against it, and it's showing their ass. It's working only in favor of him and his agenda.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is there any chance I fix my mic?
You're good.
No, I can't hear you.
No, just backtrack a little bit. So we've touched on my wheelhouse a couple times. I was a medical professional and a college student, right? I've graduated from one college. I'm attending another. We talk about like the use of AI and ChatGPT to like write papers. And so it makes me question sometimes, especially with a brand new little one of my own, what they're learning in things like in public school, right?
Right.
And you talk about the applicability of the things that they're learning for, like, they've changed the way that they have to do multiplication, and you have to do it in this weird new way. You can't just do it the normal way. But like, how do those things really help you in other aspects, right? Like, anything that I ever learned in high school has not helped me in college, right?
Right.
It's starting all over. And so I think the quality of education, especially if we're addressing like moving things down levels to, like you said earlier, like the state levels, right? Really addressing the quality of the education that we're offering, even in just public school, or switching, like my brother had said earlier, to like a homeschool approach where you're able to cater your child's education, or even just adding those things in without having it be technically homeschooled, to make sure that we're learning things that will help us in life.
Yeah. I mean,
8-year-old don't even know.
I sit there and watch. I've watched videos where people's given a kid that's probably 13 years old a old style rotary phone and told them to make a phone call. I mean, it is just like these kids are just the common sense. I mean, but if you've never been raised around it, we weren't raised around cell phones. I'm 64 years old, and I was not. There was no cell phones. A cell phone to us, a mobile phone, was the phone in the kitchen with the super long cord that you can go all the way to your bedroom. That was it. That was for us. We thought, the longer the cord, the better, and stuff like that. But now it's just like these kids are. My granddaughter, she lives on the phone, and it's like this right now. The worst thing you can do a kid to punish them is take their cell phone. Watch what happens to them. They will lose their freaking minds if you take their cell phone from them.
It's amazing that you bring this up. So I just saw not even a meme. I saw this on X today. I mean, we use this in the military, right? One of those hazing jokes, like get the ID-10T form, that kind of thing. But one of them was go find me a left-handed hammer. Somebody did that in a Home Depot with these 3 young people working at Home Depot. He said, "Can you help me find a left-hand hammer?" Every single one of them pulled out their little thing to find a left-hand hammer in their inventory. That's that freaking Home Depot, man.
My nephew goes to the restaurant and he uses his phone to order his drink out of the machine. He puts the cup there and hits whatever button on the drink machine he wants on his phone.
Yeah, and I can't stand these restaurants that you have to order before you go up and give, or you pay right there. I mean, if you've never been in there, that's how, we were in Korea and we went somewhere and I had to order my meal for the very first time. Dude, I was lost. That's how tech savvy I really am. And Terry's like over here, it's right here, and you're doing this. And I'm just like going, this customer service is slowly but surely going out the window. Okay? Going out the window.
How about a 20-year-old that can't endorse their paycheck because they don't know how to write in cursive? So they can't find their name on a paycheck that they got from the job.
Yeah. It's like when I went in the Army, we had a class. My drill sergeants sat there and said, "Your signature." Well, I learned my signature, and he goes, "That is a crap signature." And I'm going, "Whoa, what?" That's how I learned in school to sign my name. He goes, "Do you know how many people can forge your name?" And we had to sit there and figure out our signature. I still sign everything I have the same way as I did in 1979 when I learned a signature that nobody could duplicate. And I signed it the same way.
At one point when I was in the Army, I had to do one of those bullshit desk jobs that had me sign my name like 500 fucking times a day. So it's nothing. I get told a lot of times the doctor's signature. It's just up and down. It's just it's scribble. That's all it is. But it's my scribble.
That's the way mine is too. Like when we go somewhere and I have to sign my name, because if you have to write anything out, I always just give it to my wife. Here you go. They need to be able to read this, evidently. So, and I'll sign my name, and it's just chicken scratch going, and they're like, are you a doctor? Like, and I'm like, do I look like a doctor to you? You don't want me in working on you, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I was like,
doctor of awesomeness.
I spent my whole life in the Marine Corps and had to sign papers beyond all means all day long.
Yeah.
I think the worst experience when you were talking about that, my last active duty station was I was at Fort Benning in Georgia, at the schoolhouse.
No longer Fort Moore, by the way.
What's that?
No longer Fort Moore, by the way. They changed it to Fort Moore. It's back to Benning again.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and they think they changed Fort Bragg back again.
Bragg's back to Bragg.
So that's awesome. Yeah. When I heard they were starting to change namings, I'm like, that's just the most ridiculous thing.
But here's the thing: the panel that did it, the 3-star, the 4-star from the Army, he was my brigade commander in 1st Engineer Brigade in Bad Kreuznach, Germany. He was my colonel, and he was on that panel. And when I read that thing, the amount of money that team and all their strap hangers that came in there, and not all of them were Army, and they changed the Army names, and they had Navy, and they had all these other people in there, DEI people that were so entrenched in this thing to change all this stuff. It was $2.7 million just in the group to make all these decisions and write up all these papers and stuff like that. And then the installations were in charge of using their garrison funds to change everything on the installation. And smart people down at Fort Hood, because MWR stored all that stuff in their warehouse down there. And guess what? It's coming right back out and getting nailed right back up.
I know.
So they don't have to buy it again.
I know somebody who's right outside of Benning, and all they did, all the street signs and everything, all they did is put a placard of Fort Moore over it, and then they just had to take it off. So yes, great foresight. But yeah, I've covered this multiple times on my show. I did a lot of research on this. I did a whole video about every single change name and all of it. Yeah, okay, they're getting rid of Confederate freaking generals and whatnot. Okay, fine. But everything they changed it to was the first Hispanic to do this, the first African-American woman to do this, the first DEI person to do this. There was no heroism. It was this Medal of Honor recipient or anything like that. It was nothing but DEI bullshit, even down to Fort Moore, named for Hal Moore, who the best reference is the movie We Were Soldiers Once, played by Mel Gibson. Colonel Moore, great. Everyone loved that until you hear it was also named for his wife. It's not just him. So, yeah, I mean, where's the pride? There's no level of pride anymore. And obviously they don't care. They don't really like our military anyways. But there
was one thing going around the veterans websites about or YouTube channels about they changed it back to Fort Bragg. Thank you, Pete. And it was after some guy named Private something Bragg.
Yep.
Yeah.
And same thing with Benning.
Somebody else.
Yep. They changed it in a way that the liberals, the leftists, they can't argue it. it's no longer a Confederate general. It was actually somebody in our military who did something great, who was stationed there back in the past. So
Yes.
that was a brilliant fucking move, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was. It was a waste of a lot of money.
Oh, imagine all the business. So I spent 5 years at Bragg, and I was gonna do coverage of the inauguration, and that fell through. So I ended up driving down, and I stopped off at Bragg, and I hung out there for 3 days. I forgot how many businesses were around the area that were named for Bragg, and they all had to change it to like Liberty Bank and shit like that, and now they got to change it back to Bragg again.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the area I'm in right now. Like, we're not far from like Fort Bragg. Like this whole part. I mean, we're right now like where I'm at my uncle's house. We're coastal North Carolina. It is nothing but military bases. Like everything that's around here, whether it's the Air Force, you got the Army, you got Marine Corps. They
I was enjoying their conversation.
Going live. They were chatting technology, old folk. I mean, I love you, Mike. But yeah, so it's like when they start changing that stuff, you know, like Adam said, it's not that they're just changing the military installation. You know, I remember back when I was still at Lejeune, and they tried to pull the whole it's Lejeune, not Lejeune, and I'm like, get out of here, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
You know, but you're changing the entire community now because, oh, there's road names, there's all this other stuff. Yeah, we won't go into the road names because we happen to know a few that are in every dang town, and nobody seems to be offended by those.
Yeah.
These ones because they were, you know, Confederate generals or whatever shenanigans they came up with. I think the lack of accountability, holding people accountable, right? And I blame some of these problems on our current generation now because we've trained our kids, one, to not have to do as much as we did because we worked so hard to get to where we were at. We're like, F that, our kids are going to be spoiled. And now they're all shitheads. And we're like, but we did it ourselves, right? Us as the parents raising it, our generation created the generation.
We allowed that to happen.
Yeah. And it's just like, you know, the government being in control of everything, right? Well, the people of the nation they're the reason. The generations that got lazy and said, well, I don't want to keep going to this town hall meeting, so you guys just do what you want to do. Like, I'm tired of, you know, coming off my job to go to the, you know, mayor's meeting every week or every month. And it's snowballed. But in that process, I think the biggest devastation was that we never taught any of them how to accept and to moderate failure. You know, like they put that cliche in a lot of some movies, right? Failure is not an option. Bullshit. Fail every day because that's the best way to learn. But in today's society, failure is not an option. We just have to find a way to do it. No, the wheel's round, guys. Quit reinventing it. It's fine. It works. It rolls. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? We don't like. They overcomplicate things. Like I've seen it all the time in the Marine Corps. We would send guys to advanced troubleshooting courses, and they would forget to make sure the freaking battery of the vehicle's hooked up first, and would start tearing components apart because they're like, I'm advanced mechanic trained. I can do this. Not without a battery, dummy. Like fix yourself first and quit trying to go back to that KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Can I make the joke that I'm not surprised it was a Marine?
Well,
yes, you can.
I love my Marines, man. All good.
But yeah, so it's that type of thing, but not being able to teach them failure. And I think that's why we're seeing all these meltdowns of the people freaking out about, what do you mean I have to go into work now? I have to go into my building and actually get paid to do my job? That's ridiculous. Who would ever do that? I mean, I just should be alive and they give me money for free. That's how the world works. My mom and dad did it. Yeah, you know, right. Oh, geez.
Here's your participation trophy.
Here, you showed up today. Here's a medal for making it. Like, and you know, oh, they're war heroes. No, they just showed up for a week straight. Like, good job.
The Army gives the ribbon for being in the Army.
Yeah.
Well, they got rid of that now. It's been rescinded. They don't hand it out no more.
The Army service ribbon is gone?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God our gay pride ribbon is no more. I'm not joking. It's a rainbow. The fucking ribbon is a rainbow.
Yeah. I think they said they got rid of that one and they got the one because we were at war during, what was that other one they were handing out?
There's the GWAT medal, the Global War and Terror Service medal.
No, it was
Or are you talking about the Firewatch medal?
yeah.
The National Service Defense.
National Defense Service medal.
Yeah.
Okay, so no shit. Yeah. That anyone could wear that if you're in during a time of war, and now that's no more.
I didn't do anything, but I get the medal.
Yeah, that medal's been around for a long time. I'm surprised by that one.
Yeah,
Wow.
what do we call that? That was the Firewatch ribbon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, it really is a joke, and I think ever since we had General Millett there, Mr. fucking White Rage with his 500 fucking medals and ribbons on, and now we actually have like generals who are coming out with a stack of 6. It really does show that it's ridiculous what we've been putting out there. That people just getting all this crap for free. We got medals that you get for doing absolutely fucking nothing. So good. I'm glad we're trying to take it back down to the basics again.
Yeah. Because if you look back in history and you look at General Marshall during World War II, he had like 2 rows of ribbons. That was it, and he was a war stud. You know what I mean? The same thing with Eisenhower and all them. And now it's just like you go to the Air Force and it's I shoot and I've done this, and they've got all kinds of ribbons that they wear on their chest. Unlike us. I mean, if they took like the driver's wheel, but see, they have a thing like if you get a driver's wheel, then you have track vehicle, wheel vehicle, blah, 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 whatever. They have ribbons for that. And you look like a freaking general and you're just out of the Air Force Academy. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. If you ever look at all the different branches, the Marines, you guys have the smallest amount of awards, and Air Force is just like double the amount. They have like by far the most. I have a retired Air Force buddy who loves to say like we used to be in a VFW color guard together and be like, people be like, whoa, what is all that for? Well, this is one I got for winning a volleyball game. This one I got for driving a bus. And,
This one
I don't think he was joking.
What's that one for?
And then you go over how much money did they spend on thinking up the patch and all that stuff for Space Force. And then when they could have just turned to Star Trek, which they did, and they got a comms medal for their patch.
Yeah, I correct a lot of people on this. Actually, Star Trek took that from the space agency. Space agencies
really
they've been using the Delta long before Star Trek ever came around. Star Trek took that from them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you look at every single space agency across the globe, they all use the Delta as a symbol. I don't know why. I haven't looked into the reason why, but yeah, Star Trek actually took that from them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, for me, I just look on there and go, why would they have the Star Trek thing?
Their main units. I think it's either their brigades or their divisions are actually called deltas.
Ah.
Yeah, because that's the shape. That is, the delta.
Yeah.
So it's for some reason it has big symbolism in space.
And the whole thing falls under Air Force, or is it?
It's the same thing like the Marine Corps under the Navy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Hey, we got that one right. We were guessing, I think, last week we talked about it or a week before or something.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out where did it fall. And every time I've grabbed my phone to Google it, and then I found something more important in my life to do and never made it to that. So
this is literally I do YouTube full time. This is literally my job. So I research all this shit.
Yeah.
I will throw some comments, Charlie. I don't know if you're reading through the comments as they go down through there, but evidently, we'll have to work on this YouTube channel. People are finding you. She doesn't normally have a full-on YouTube channel, guys, but we just found out before she went home. She was over here and had dinner with everybody when we showed up. She might have some stuff coming out, so you'll see it on our page come out if she gets something going.
Cool. I'm curious why you have the whole crew there behind you. What's at the party there? Everyone just staring at a camera.
I did see a couple people that come in late, Eddie and Patrick at Cuddly Texan and stuff. So
hi Patrick.
We we've made Tara and I have made an impromptu trip. My uncle here, got some unfortunate news at the doctor, and we said, hey, you're not going on limited duty. That's not acceptable. Light duty. So we're gonna come over, get a few things done, come hang out and visit. So we made a trip here to North Carolina to surprise him. He had no idea. He was walking in the
But
back
don't
door.
spill the beans, because no one else knows that we're in North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm gonna call to make sure that, everybody's want anything. And, oh, no, you can't do that. You'll have to call Dean up.
So this is all
I'll have a
family, and
number.
they're all veterans.
Oh,
Yeah, so Charlie down below me is a cousin, is one of my uncle's daughters. But she had to go home, get the baby put to bed, so she couldn't hang out here. But yeah, this is all family. This is a cousin, my uncle, cousin, and we all served. Everybody served in the Marine Corps. Well, Charlie was Army, and so is Elmer.
so you had a couple of smart ones at least. All right. Hey,
Yeah,
salute to all of you guys. That's an awesome family you got there. That's cool.
Yeah.
They said they grew up in the Marine Corps, so they went in the Army to take it easy.
Yeah, they already did all the hard work, right? They were like, we did the hard stuff. Let's go loaf now.
Yeah,
Dad
that
worked
makes
way
sense.
too hard. I need to go get some.
Look,
Give me
it's
a-
been
and
a
then-
breeze, okay?
And then at some point, in everyone's career, you end up looking at an Air Force base and go, "Man, I made the wrong fucking decision."
I realized that actually when I was still stationed here in North Carolina, I was at Camp Lejeune, and for Humvee school to get the Humvee license, and I think he did it just to F with us. He drove us up here to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and we went to the Chow Hall, and I went, "This is apt. No facility on our Marine Corps base is as nice as their Chow Hall." And he's
Yup.
like, "Oh wait, let's go tour one of their barracks rooms." You mean the Hilton? Like that's not a barracks room. Ridiculous.
Dude, go there on post bar. They have MWR bars, and it's one of the people who bartend are military personnel. They're wearing civilian clothes, but they're sergeants whose job is to freaking bartend.
Yeah. So when I came in, all the MWR, I mean, the clubs didn't belong to MWR, and they had a sergeant first class that run the club, and then he had an officer, usually a detailed lieutenant or whatever, as the club officer, and then the club manager was a sergeant first class, and they wore the old either the black pants with the white tux coat when they came to work to manage the clubs and stuff like that. Where now it's MWR runs all the clubs, because I was the MWR director for the Army, and I did that for several years. So it's changed a lot. Just kind of like when I first came in, it was an 03 Charlie in the Army that was an MOS to run a gymnasium.
What?
Yeah. When I first came in, it was soldiers that ran the gymnasium and not MWR.
You're old, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
I joined the Army in 2000. So I mean, I feel old as hell.
I came in 1979.
God dang! All right, yeah, you got me beat.
We'll just say Mike was somewhere when some tablets were etched. He may have witnessed it. It's okay.
Yeah, my wife was like 8 or 9 when I came in the Army.
Wow.
So I got the better deal of the marriage.
Just before my wife's 9th birthday.
Yeah.
I hang out with the group here. I live at Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri, and one of
really?
my buddies here. What's that?
I used to be the manager of Laura. You know, Lake of the Ozark rec area?
Oh, I'm not familiar with that place. I'm sure it's probably something that exists, but if it doesn't have a bar, I don't know about it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's part of Fort Leonard Wood. And I used to manage that and the outdoor rec on Fort Leonard.
Oh yeah, off of the Grand Glaze Arm.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
So you were stationed at Leonard Wood.
Yeah, I was a MWR outdoor rec director.
No kidding. I've been wanting to check that place out because they changed the policy. Now I can use my veterans card my VA card to utilize that facility. That's awesome. Hell yeah! Like right down the lake from freaking old Party Cove.
Yes. Yes.
No shit. Were you out there all
My
the
wife's
swinging
from,
swinging old titties and all
Yeah.
that?
my wife is from Waynesville.
No shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I've been I'm not from here. I came here in 2017. But I bought a condo in 2019. I wasn't planning on staying. I was going to use it more for rental. And then guess what? 3 months later, COVID lockdown hit. I'm like, all right, guess I'm not leaving now. So still here to this day.
What was the condos you managed?
Well, at the time, it was Atlantis Island.
Atlantis Island. Terry used to manage
They
that one.
changed it, and I don't know what the
What
It's
mile
not-
marker? My
has
apologies to
bridge.
anybody out there who doesn't have any clue what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, it's right across from that. What is that? Cricket or grasshopper or the frog?
The horny toad? Horny
The horny
toad
toad.
and shady
Straight
gators?
across from the horny
Oh,
toad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no shit. Yeah, that's over by
That
Tap
area.
and Grill. Tap and Grill's
Yeah,
the
you
lake
know-
bar over there.
Yeah, like right down
It's
from.
the only condos on an island.
Yeah, it's the only condos on an island there
But it's no longer an island
because they put a bridge up there. Used to be you had to take a tugboat across there.
It's right up from the dam.
The dam, yeah, it's right by the dam.
Oh yeah, yep. That's I originally was on the 3 mile marker over there.
We used
Yeah,
to
same
sell-
area.
Well, and manage condos there.
Yeah, I live right in the heart of Osage Beach. I'm at the 19 mile marker. I really
Okay.
should not have doxed myself like that, but okay. Well, that's all. Hey, we definitely got to talk more. I know I emailed you. We've been talking. We're gonna do some collabs and whatnot. This obviously is completely impromptu. I wasn't planning on coming on a show tonight.
No, but we're glad you are. That was awesome. I seen you had popped into the chat earlier.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I was trying to drop a super chat, and I don't know why the hell it didn't go through. But then all of a sudden, I saw the link at the top. I'm like, "Fuck it, I'll fucking pop on." By the way, I hope you guys don't mind the cussing. I'm assuming you don't care.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, all right.
We do that. We do that.
Bunch of fucking sergeants around here. You better not give a shit. My buddy here, he just recently got out of the Marine Corps just 2 years ago. He's 25 fucking years old. He was 1 year old when I went into the Army and 4 when I went to Iraq. So these assholes make me feel old all the damn time.
Yeah.
That's why I come visit with the family, because then I feel young. I'm like, sweet, all right, I'm all right.
That's because I went to boot camp on the 28th of February, 1979. These kids they can't comprehend.
Yeah.
You're right. We weren't born. That's why we can't comprehend.
I know. Like I'll have Scotty, the young Marine, ask me questions like, how did Saddam, get captured, or when did IEDs come in? He thought it was in Afghanistan. I'm thinking, like, how the hell do you not know this? Oh, that's right. You weren't even in fucking kindergarten yet when all that was happening.
Yeah.
Current Marines that asked me if it was easier to remember history when you lived it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no shit. I was literally there when Saddam got captured. His sons got killed and everything. So it's like, something I will never forget. So someone who's asking me, somebody who served in the military for 4 years, I'm like, how do you not know that answer? Oh, right, you're a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, where was the Battle of Kopshi?
That I don't know.
We heard about it in school, but like, what?
Oh, in Korea?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's over by Camp Carroll in Korea.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that was Whisper Alley in Okinawa.
Yeah, it was. Someone told me a long time ago, before I came in, I swore it was my uncle, and he says, "Do you want to be somebody who makes history or somebody who watches history come by?" And so that's why it was told to him, and he joined the Navy because he said, I want to be somebody who makes history, not somebody who reads about it and watches it pass them by and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good thing, and I have a lot of respect. And I tell people this on my MT Homestead channel, is that people, kids that came in after 9/11, when they came in, knowing that they were going to be shipped out, I had so much respect for that generation of children that signed up and came in knowing full well that if they did that, they were going to be shipped over to the desert, and they did. So, oh yeah, there's Mr. International. He's a VSO, and we welcome him in. Thank you for that super chat.
Yeah, VSO. Fuck yeah, man.
Thanks, appreciate it.
I've had some. I've never had a bad VSO. I've had good ones.
Yeah.
Thanks, glad you popped in.
Yeah, people ask me where I grew up, and I said, well, I grew up here in Michigan, Southwest Michigan. I was raised in Southwest Michigan, and I grew up in the desert a few minutes when the bullets started flying.
Yeah.
People don't understand how grave that situation is, that it changes your whole outlook on life in a matter of a few minutes, sometimes a few seconds.
You know a person that's from Michigan when they put their freaking hand up because it's the shape of Michigan, and I live right down here.
No, what's even better is actually someone from Wisconsin like me.
Yeah.
We get the thumb over here. I'm from this corner over here. That is actually, you look at the map of Wisconsin, and that is actually perfect right there. But I'm always, every year you can catch me right down here in Green Bay for one game a year. I'm a huge Green Bay fan.
Yeah, I was born in Beloit, Wisconsin.
No shit. You Packer fan?
Yeah, no, hell no.
All right, fuck this shit. I'm out.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah, I was born there. My dad worked on his grandpa's dairy farm just north of there. And the only reason we were still there, we were going down to Rockford. And my mom said, Dave, pull this thing over. This kid's coming. The front seat's wet. And so I was born in Wisconsin, and then we moved when I was like 3 to Arizona, and I lived there the rest of my life.
Oh, wow. Where about in Arizona?
I'm from Mesa.
I spent 5 months in Mesa.
Yeah.
In 2020, I had a friend who lived there. What's the really fancy place north of there?
Tempe, Scottsdale.
Scottsdale. You had a friend who lived up in Scottsdale, and we were talking online about trying to help out the Trump campaign. I went there. I got there on September 11th in 2020, and spent 5 months there working with the Trump campaign, trying to help out the election.
Yeah.
And come to find out, I was right in the middle of one of the biggest fucking rigged areas of the election in the fucking country there in Maricopa County.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very familiar with the area now.
Maricopa County is kind of like Shelby County, Memphis. As Shelby County goes, that's the way Tennessee goes, and that's the same thing in Arizona as Maricopa County. It's the most populated area in the state.
Is it run by super corrupt assholes that rig elections too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll clarify that.
Yes.
But yeah, I was there. It was 120 degrees when I got there in September. It was 75 degrees when I left in January, and I got back here to Lake of the Ozarks where it was negative 30-degree wind chills. Not good timing.
Yeah.
The first time in 10 years, the entire lake had frozen over. Lucky me.
Yeah. Hey guys, I want to thank everybody for coming in. I want to thank our guests for coming in and sharing tonight's live with everybody. Thank you for your service. I want to tell you all that right now. Everybody here on panel. Charlie, thank you for not saying a whole lot. But
Y'all run your mouths too much. I didn't have a chance.
I'll take the blame for that. I got shut the fuck up.
Hey, but you're always welcome. Because we open it up to people to come up and talk when we do this. Next week, we're going to be talking about 100% disability, the big 5 for the 100% disability. So join us for that next Tuesday on Sergeant's Talk TV. Guys, I want to, again, thank you for being in here. And remember, be kind to one another. Help somebody in need. And always, always thank a vet. Any closing remarks we got?
I just want to say, I'm going to have either 1, 2, or both of you guys at the same time here on Vets Talking. So definitely, if you all want to check that, I'm not looking for subscribers, but make sure you guys at least checking it out. If you want to have these guys on, if you want to drop that super chat, I'll show on here.
I dropped the link too. for his.
Oh, you guys, it's at Vets Talking. Drop the G and you'll find me right here on YouTube, on Rumble, if you guys prefer that. So yeah, I'm gonna have these guys on at some point. I'm looking forward to it. This is my first time. I go to a lot of other shows. This is definitely my first time I've ever been on a fellow veteran show. I do a lot of pop culture stuff, so I'm very honored. You guys popped my my military cherry. I guess I'm being on another military channel. But yeah, guys, if anybody's familiar with the Unsubscribed podcast, we do a very similar format. I'm gonna see if I can get these assholes drunk because I put my liver out. I do shots for super chats, and I get a lot of people drunk quite often on my show. So hopefully, I think it'll be a very good time.
Hey, and one other thing, I was scrolling at the bottom. May 16th through the 18th is the Mid-America YouTube meetup at Lake Eufaula State Park. Hopefully you guys can go to the MT Homestead Facebook page. There's an event on there for it. Terry and I are the sponsors of that meetup every year. And check the link out to make reservations at the park. Also, we've posted local hotels. If you want to come in and you're spending a day or whatever and you want a place to stay, we put those on there also. So we look forward to seeing you guys or anybody out there that's coming to the Mid-America May 16th through the 18th.
Yeah, and you don't have to be YouTubers. That's the thing. We want everybody. The big thing for us channels that are going, and yes, Tara and I have our site reserved. We're ready to go. Is we want subscribers, or if you're interested in wanting to start YouTube, it is open for everybody.
Yes. You guys are going to have to send me the info on that because obviously it being here in Missouri, I'm not that far away. I'll have to join you guys with that.
Yeah. So go there. You can, all the information's there on the event on our MT Homestead Facebook page. So yeah. So guys, thanks for coming in.
I want to put something out real quick. Charlie also has a channel she's not put any content on yet, but she will be. She has a channel called the Military.
Charlie, why haven't you put any content out?
Military.
It's in the works. We're in the development stage. I've got lots of planning to do still.
And it's a military-based channel?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a podcast. So we'll do the video version on YouTube and then the audio of the podcast on all the other platforms. It's called the Military Mindset Pod. And it's going to be about mental toughness, resilience for veterans, active duty service members, people transitioning.
Not
where we have guest speakers and stuff like that.
Not that kind of
Which transition? Oh, out of the military.
From military to civilian life. Or really just
these
anyone
days
who
you got to be specific.
Yeah. No, from military to civilian life, because that can be really tough on vets.
Sure.
And so, yeah, we're going to talk about all things like mental toughness, guest speakers, sometimes just me, however it kind of goes. And that's what we're going to be about. So
there you go. All right.
We're going to have to get in touch too.
Battle Buddy, you got anything?
I just appreciate everybody coming in. Dogs are going crazy. Someone walked in the door evidently. No, just once again, what a great week. Glad that we were able to make our trip over here. It's just getting started for us. But more importantly, I was like, I needed to get here by a certain time. So I knew that I could get on here because like Mike said at the beginning of the show, guys, this is our therapy. You know, we love doing all of the other stuff. But, you know, at the end of the day, this channel is created out of Mike and I's own selfishness of needing to be able to connect not only with each other, but then all the vets that come into the comments and anybody that we can pull up. It's better than any therapist that we could have to go sit in an office and lay on a couch with. And being able to do this week in and week out, I feel honored, you know, one, that I can do this with an amazing battle buddy that's just full of knowledge and support. But then surrounded by all of you that come in and watch us week in and week out, doing this active, you know, giving us ideas, comments, and sharing it out and doing that type of stuff. Just looking forward to many, many more to come. So I appreciate you all, and we'll see you next week, y'all.
Hey, Adam, what days of the week do you go live, or do you have a schedule?
So I use my biggest show was on Saturday. We call it Skinamax Saturday. I kind of stopped doing that. It's more pop culture based than anything else. Right now, my regular show is Thursdays for Knife Hands at 10 o'clock Eastern is our main show that we do. And I'm trying to roll back in. Vets Talking Tuesday is going to be our regular show also. We always go live at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central.
Okay. Good. All right. So guys, hey, thanks for coming in here. God bless. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Thanks. See ya.
See you.
Hey.
All out.
Hot mic.